I'm going to explain to you real quick.
Continue walking.
But don't be rolling out. There's a reason for it.
Yeah, you got it right.
So the reason why I contacted you is because I liked your presentation on TikTok about the thing that's on your left hand, or left arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you say it the way you say it, Jason? I don't mean to.
It's the NutriSense. It's a continuous glucose monitor. So there's a little needle in here, and it goes in your arm, and it measures your blood sugar 24/7, 365.
Right.
And so you take your phone and you scan it, and then it'll take the data and it'll show you graphs based in just in real time, like a line graph what your blood sugar is doing. And then it was sent to me by the company, and they just said, hey, throw this on and see what you want to do with it. And
let me ask Captain Obvious question: does the needle hurt?
No, that's actually a good question, because I hate needles. It doesn't. It's about that big. I mean, you can see it. It hurts to look at it before you do it. You're kind of like, oh my gosh. But you don't feel it. I can work out with it. You can shower with it. You can swim with it. After you get over the initial, like just having something on your arm, you pretty much completely forget about it, which is good, because a lot of people need these for life or death situations. A lot of type 1 diabetics have to wear these their whole life, so. Yeah,
I know a couple. We have an Indy car we sponsor, Connor Daly, and he's type 1. He's type 1, and he uses an inhaled insulin from Mankind.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he's a car racer, right? So he's sweating and losing weight and doing all the stuff he's doing,
Yeah, so this and he's probably got a super advanced one that'll notify him and send him notifications when his blood sugar, his risk is going too far down. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the technology opened up my eyes. It was absolutely crazy.
But you're not diabetic.
No, I'm not, but I've been in the fitness industry for 10 years. I have a pretty good following around, mostly it came from the keto world and low carb diets and stuff like that. And so I basically took this and tested a bunch of different foods on my own, because I wanted to create meal plans and a new diet for my followers and my clients and stuff based off this feedback and data. Then one day I just said, I'm just going to test this food and put it out there on the TikTok world. I'd never been on TikTok, and it blew up. And then next thing I know, I'm like, wow, okay, I'm just going to be the guinea pig for everybody. And I just started testing all these different kinds of foods, and it's been quite a journey.
Did it blow up 2 hours later?
I have to. Yeah, that's so funny. I had to keep using that clip, SpongeBob clip. Yeah. Yeah, TikTok was wild. I actually didn't even think to. One of my buddies convinced me. I was doing it on Instagram, and he was like, just throw it on TikTok. Same video, nothing to lose.
Yeah.
TikTok blew up way more than the rest.
So, I'm the founder of a company called Alzheimer's Neuro with the University of South Florida, not too far from where you are. And we have a vaccine for Alzheimer's going into patients, we think, in a couple months. And we already have a treatment, a co-crystal lithium compound with the university in patients in phase 2. And I have a particular interest in, let me give you a little of my background. I was the founder of Patient Safety Technologies, and we ultimately bought Surgicount Medical, brought it to market, and it's a class 2 laser that reads into the sterile field to prevent sponges from being left behind in the body. That ultimately got sold to Stryker for $120 million. We had an exit, but it really sparked my interest in healthcare and biotechnology. And so there's a couple doctors on TikTok. One of them is kind of like a myth buster. You see his face, and he talks about, he goes like this and points up to the actual studies.
You've probably done a video on me, probably slamming me, or no?
No, I haven't seen. No, I've never seen anyone slam you at all. Actually,
okay, cool.
No, not at all. If there was, okay.
Well, a lot of nutritionists and things hate what I'm doing and all this stuff. But anyways,
it's not very relevant to me whether you have someone hate you. In fact, I got plenty of haters. I'm an active shareholder. I probably got 250 active haters at all times. And in fact, I would think that if you had haters, you're doing something right.
You're doing something right. Yeah.
I think what I'm interested in is, I notice you have kids and you're married, and you're kind of, here's what we feed our child. And I think it was, you fed them. I think it was like it was like a breakfast food, and then you know 2 hours later the spike was crazy. You ate their breakfast food, and I thought, wow, this is it was the most educational thing I've ever seen on the reality of what happens and how your body reacts to it. And I kind of wanted to know what you're doing with that, because that's why we reached out to you. I mean, I literally have a publicist, and he, you know, he books me some of the biggest guests in the world, and I look and thought, okay, this guy, we got to get this guy on here and show what he does. And in fact, this will be edited with some of your videos in it to show people what you do. And I went through every video you have. I went through you eating steak.
Yeah, which was interesting. It done nothing to your blood sugar. So it's a whole paradigm shift. It's totally takes everything you've learned for the past 50 years and it turns it upside on top of its head. Like the fact that just calories are all that matters, basically. And so it just really makes you, it just opens your eyes to a calorie is not a calorie, basically. Like a calorie of broccoli does very different things than a calorie of ice cream. And before this technology, you couldn't really visually see it.
Right.
I've always understood the relationship, the insulin hypothesis, which is basically when you spike blood sugar, your pancreas has to secrete insulin.
Right.
And insulin is a fat storage hormone. So it's going to take that blood sugar and store it inside either muscle cells or fat cells. If you don't work out, it's always going to store it inside fat cells. And so but you couldn't really, it was hard to like show people that. Like I would always explain it on YouTube and all these things, but when you see the blood sugar go up, unfortunately, you don't see what would be a corresponding graph of insulin going up as well, right?
Yeah.
And insulin is literally storing that glucose inside fat cells. You're getting fatter. So when you eat a steak, no blood sugar, no insulin, you're able to burn fat. And also, anytime there's high levels of insulin in your bloodstream, it's impossible to burn fat. Because insulin is it's a one-way street. It's trying to store glucose inside the cell. So what happens is people spike blood sugar, it comes down, but then they eat again and it goes up and they're going all day long with elevated blood sugar and insulin levels. Very difficult to explain to people, but this technology kind of gives you a good visual of it. I've railed against calorie counting my entire career. Sorry, I'm getting notifications here. I apologize for that. I've railed against calorie counting my entire career. I don't, in your situation that you explained to me in the beginning, you were younger, you got away with eating all these carbohydrates, you worked out, which was helping, you know, like I said, you spiked blood sugar, but because you just played football, insulin's taking that blood sugar and putting it back inside the muscle cell, you see?
Yeah, there's no question. I was working out 6 days a week minimum, and I think I was probably running the equivalent of about 9 miles a day. I was something crazy.
So insulin. So the blood sugar was getting partitioned in the muscle and the fat. But as you get older, you become what's called insulin resistant. And everybody should go Google that word, insulin resistance. Insulin resistance. It's huge, very, very common, and it's basically at the core of a lot of health problems. So as you get older, basically when you spike blood sugar over and over and over for months and years and years and years, it's basically pancreas abuse. And then now when you just spike blood sugar, it causes more, your pancreas has to basically work double time. So it secretes more and more insulin. So you can't tolerate the carbohydrates like you used to be able to. It has nothing to do, you didn't just go out, stop playing football and eat 10,000 calories a day, my man. You were continuing to eat processed and refined carbohydrates that were spiking blood sugar and insulin like crazy over and over and over again, which is causing you to store fat. It had nothing probably to do with how much food you eat. And so I am adamant about getting people to stop just focusing on calories and focus on what types of calories. I was doing I look at kids. Like you said, I had kids. And I no longer I'm a former wrestler. Half my life I lived on the scale, half my life I counted calories and all this stuff, right? And I would always look at a fat kid and be like, oh man, he's just playing too many video games and he's not working out. You know, he's not working out enough. He's eating too much food. Like that's just the mentality I had. Now when I look at a fat kid and diabetes and obesity amongst kids is skyrocketing.
Parabolic. Yep.
Horrible. They're trying to hide it, but it is public health enemy number one, in my opinion. Just take a look around and you see obese kids everywhere, diabetics at 12 years old. And I personally do not believe that these kids got that way because they sit around eating 5,000 calories a day and don't work out enough. And here's why I firmly believe that. Because the poorest kids in our country are the most obese and diabetic out of that statistic. So you're telling me the poorer you are as a kid, the fatter you are, and the more likely you are to be diabetic. But I'm going to sit here and think that you're eating too much food when you probably can't even afford your next meal. Your parents are just scrumming around, unfortunately, having to feed you processed and refined carbohydrates. You can't afford to eat the high quality proteins and the healthy fats and the home cooked single ingredient meals. You have to eat nothing but carbs. Food stamp kids, like, you see. So I'm just on this big mission to kind of like challenge the narrative that we were given before, that it's all about calories and you know, you got fat. You got fat because you stopped playing football and you started eating more food.
Well, well, I didn't start eating more food. I already was eating the food. I just stopped working out. But the point I was making about, I've looked at this. Have you ever seen this thing called Wheat Belly? This book called Wheat Belly?
Yes.
And this scenario that if you think about around 100 years ago with the Industrial Revolution, I don't know the exact time frame, where you started making these really refined stuff like corn starch and stuff, where you have Taco Bell, really inexpensive food to feed the masses, right?
Yeah.
You can feed the masses with this really inexpensive food.
It's very important stuff.
Yeah, I know it is, but
you can't go out and tell everybody to go eat steak. That's why the food pyramid was the way it was.
Right.
They couldn't. They had to tell. They thankfully did away with it, but they told you to eat 60 to 70% of your calories from processed and refined carbohydrates. That's the government saying we got to feed the population. The very, very top was protein and healthy fats. Ideally, it should be flipped upside down. That might sound a little conspiracy theory-ish, but it goes along with what you're saying. I mean,
Skyla, what's your favorite food, Skyla?
Fettuccine Alfredo, which is so not.
Oh no, hold on. He's gonna talk about it. I think he's done some pasta videos before, haven't
Yeah,
you?
I did a pasta
I started
video.
doing it with chickpea pasta, so I don't feel as bad like when I eat it.
That would not be as bad, but still, peas are pretty starchy. But it wouldn't be as bad as regular pasta to spike my blood sugar.
So Jason, I mean, are you?
I tested Starburst today.
Are you telling people that they can't have fettuccine Alfredo?
No, I'm telling you better earn it. Meaning you better go take your ass and work out, and then after that you can have it. I'm telling you can't just sit around and eat all this stuff, sugar, bread, cereal, bagels, and pasta, or it's going to get stored as fat. On my program, you earn your carbs. I'm not saying you can't have a sweet potato or banana or some pasta, but I want it to be immediately after a workout. Like I explained before, if she were to go work out, lift some weights, do some cycling, whatever, and then she ate the pasta, her blood sugar goes up, insulin comes out, but insulin partitions. It says, okay, where are we going to put this? Either muscle cells or fat cells. The muscle cells halfway full because she just worked out, and it starts putting it inside the muscle cell. So she's eating the pasta, filling up the muscle. If she keeps eating more carbohydrates throughout the day, guess what it's going to do? It's going to go to fat cells. So you have to strategically, and I will also say this, I don't consider pasta healthy, unfortunately. So when I say if you're going to spike blood sugar, like it's with like, healthy foods like bananas, brown rice, sweet potato, oatmeals, all these healthy foods that spike blood sugar.
Do you ever eat fast food or anything like that? Like, what do you?
Yeah. I'm normal. I'm not, I'm
okay.
like, but pasta, I just don't really see a nutritional benefit to it. If I'm going to spike blood sugar, I'd rather eat, sweet potato, like I said, brown rice, that kind of stuff.
Oh, come on. Your favorite food could not be brown rice. What's your
No,
favorite?
it's not.
Jason, what's your favorite food?
Starburst, which I just tested today.
Look,
You want to see what Starburst did?
sure. I bet it was parabolic, right? How many did you have?
11 pieces.
You had 11 Starbursts?
11 little Starbursts. Yeah, you see that?
Yeah, but who eats 11 at one sitting?
I knew people were going to say that. I could have ate the whole bag if I wanted to.
Well, maybe they do, right?
People are going to say that too. You watch when I post the video, everybody's going to be like, "Oh, that's the excuse." Well, who was going to eat?
People ask you. They ask you a lot of
I
what.
guarantee if I left you alone in a room by yourself, you're going to eat another Starburst.
Oh, for sure. People ask you. The people ask you all the time to do different things, right? You get a lot of requests.
God. Thousands. Let me can you see that very well?
There, I can see it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, look, it went from 80 to 190 straight up. You feel great, man. You're like, let's go do whatever.
Right.
And then that bitch starts plummeting, and so do you. And you can literally feel it. You're like, I feel terrible. And you're on that downward, you're crashing, man. And when you get to the very bottom, it's a roller, it's your body's like, I need more. And then up it goes again. Now, here's what I want to say. If you're insulin resistant, this is a 2-hour window. So you see my blood sugar went up, but 2 hours later it came back down. That's because insulin is doing its job. Mine.
Right.
And for most people, that's going to go up to 180. They're going to have to secrete a ton of insulin. That's going to be a 4-hour, 5-hour window before it starts coming back down. Remember what I said, anytime you have high levels of insulin in your bloodstream, not only some massive inflammation in your body, but you're storing fat. I don't care if you go run or whatever, you're not burning fat. So therein lies the problem.
I did want to get a little serious. I mean, you have an amazing background, personal trainer for 10 years, national bodybuilding champion, featured in the cover of fitness magazines, was on the cover of Iron Man magazine. You got a lot of street cred. What's your program like? Like, what you said you have a program. Is it for people only in your area, or do you do it like on a national basis?
No, I don't do in-person. I don't do in-person training anymore. I just had to stop that a long time ago. I just help people with nutrition coaching, workouts. So I have my own app that, you can go to the gym and I write your workouts and stuff like that. Basically online training, online coaching type stuff through my app.
Is that how you get your daily bread?
Yeah, mostly through training. Sponsorship deals, brand deals, which I kind of jumped off YouTube, but that, I was on YouTube for a long time and I kind of got over that. Once TikTok came, man, it changed everything for me. I used to be a big YouTuber in the fitness industry. It was so hard to just put these videos together with 3 kids, like under the age of 6 years old. And I'm glad that we went to this 1 minute, get it out there and done. And like, mostly that's the revenues from coaching, sponsorships, product sales. We're launching a new product called Glycosa, which is going to be the first blood sugar shake. So it's going to help stabilize your blood sugar and stuff like that. If people are interested, they go to bloodsugarking.com. What were we talking about? Oh, the fitness industry. It's been a wild career. It's a lot like the financial. You're in the financial industry. It's just so many ups and downs. And looking back, like,
what do you mean, man? I never have any downs, only ups, man. Come on.
Yeah.
That
learn to manage the downs. You gotta. It's
exactly.
And you gotta make sure you don't look at the downs as a down. And you gotta. Yeah, it's.
We're gonna post up your. We're gonna post up the stuff about you and how people can find you. And I kind of have an interest in having you speak at Risk On our conference. I think that. We did a conference last year, I guess, is it this year?
This year.
We did a conference this year with Alex Rodriguez and Charles Payne and Damon John and a bunch of other people. Nice. One day was about Bitcoin, because we like Bitcoin a lot, but I really found that this was pretty fascinating. And what's crazy is how many people don't know that.
Yeah.
That's the part that's really... I was a little alarmed when I saw that, and I'm thinking, I'm pretty educated on this topic. And I watched you do, I want to talk about you doing a few diet drinks that actually brought your blood sugar lower, and kind of why that happens.
That's called the cephalic insulin response. Look, insulin it's a life or death. It's a mechanism that's primal, like it's a defense mechanism. Because if your blood sugar goes too high, you die. So it's vital. And so what happens is with a lot of these artificial sweeteners, if I just get you to sit here thinking about Starburst, your brain will actually have your pancreas prepare to release insulin.
Oh, it's already happening, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's wild. They've done these studies. It's wild. So what happens is the problem with these artificial sweeteners, they're like 300 times sweeter than regular sugar. So you take a drink of it, the body's like, boom, sugar. Pancreas freaks out, says we got a bunch of sugar coming, starts releasing insulin into the bloodstream to take care of the sugar. There is no sugar there, so insulin then takes the blood sugar that's already in your system and it clears that out. which the risk is you could go hypoglycemic, meaning it clears too much blood, glucose out of your bloodstream. So,
Is it? I want to ask a question about Splenda. So I've been told that, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I'm going to get it wrong. But I was told by someone a couple times that if I have Splenda in my drink, it's the same as having a regular thing because the Splenda tells my body that it's like a fake thing, like you're actually still getting a spike. But
you're not going to get a spike.
Yeah. So the Splenda doesn't.
You're going to get a spike in insulin, but not blood sugar. But you can't really see the insulin is the problem. You know, you'd have to hook yourself up to a machine.
Right.
In a study to see.
I used to say this thing that fat people drink Diet Coke. I actually, though, like the taste of Diet Coke. It's a really interesting scenario. If I had a choice
You drink
between.
Diet Coke?
What?
You drink Diet Coke?
I do. I drink Diet Coke. I do. And one of the things I noticed about drinking Diet Coke was if I didn't drink the Diet Coke, even though I'm on a diet, I lose weight like crazy when I cut out bread, pasta, sugar.
You don't spike blood sugar.
When I don't do that, I get aggressive, like really aggressive. I'm sure my primal things, all the sexual parts of all that stuff, I get like more aggressive. I get more aggressive in business. I don't have this sort of, I actually have more energy, which is, I guess, probably, maybe it's normal, I don't know. But when I cut out Diet Coke, that goes more parabolic, meaning I'll lose more weight. And is it psychological or actually is Diet Coke?
You lose more weight. You lose more weight when you cut out the Diet Coke.
When I don't drink diet drinks, I lose more weight.
Yeah, well then keep doing it.
I know, but I'm asking you why it's happening.
I don't know if that's the reason why it's happening. I think it's because when you quit Diet Coke, you're probably quitting a lot of other things around it at the same time. You know what I mean?
My favorite drink in the whole world is a thing called Fresca.
Oh my God, Fresca's amazing. That's like childhood, dude.
Yeah, and so I'm like obsessed with it.
That. They still make Fresca? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they still make it, and my wife gets it, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. It's like I like it a lot, really cold, right, Fresca. And I'm thinking to myself,
grapefruit?
Yeah, it's like a grapefruit. I'm sure it's like a fake grapefruit, but it's damn good, man. It's made by Coca-Cola.
I'm gonna test that for you, brother.
Oh, you know what? I swear to you, that would be the coolest thing ever if you did that.
I'm gonna.
So you started testing this idea, and it kind of got a little viral here. People are asking you a lot of questions here, and I noticed the one thing about the rice. I thought that was most interesting. One of the most interesting things. Can you talk about the rice testing?
Yeah, so basically it's called resistant starch. So I ate regular rice, and then my blood sugar obviously spiked. And then there's a bunch of studies that say that you can increase the resistant starch. Basically, that means it changes the molecule and how it's actually digested by cooking the rice, refrigerating it for 24 hours. And that refrigeration process is what actually is making the changes. And then you eat it, and it doesn't spike blood sugar as much. And it was true. It was shockingly true, to be honest with you. So
and you had the rice. You had the rice. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So it worked with the brown rice and the white rice. Then everybody wanted me to test it with pasta. It did not work. Then they wanted me to test it with potato. Basically, go test all these starches to see if it works. It did not work with potatoes or pasta. For some reason, it only worked with the brown rice for me. So that was an interesting thing. There's a lot of people entering this space, which is great, but I'm seeing a lot of people throw out some wild stuff that I'm able to test myself. Like there's other influencers in this space that, hey, have you heard the food order method? Like if you eat dude, total BS. And I knew it was going to be BS. I'm just thinking in my head, there's just no way you're eating the stuff within 10 minutes. So I tested that. Obviously it didn't work. I've tested that multiple times, where you eat the vegetable, then you eat the protein, then you eat the rice type of situation. And it's supposed to magically like make your blood sugar not spike. Total BS.
What do you think of things like what the Liver King does and the other carnivore guy where, I mean, they're like eating raw testicles and they're eating
Carnivore MD
livers. It's kind of like it seems not practical from like a a practical standpoint, like in my refrigerator, they open up, here's giant cow balls and a few other things, and like, I mean, is that really, is it even practical that you would even suggest that?
I look at it from if I have to look at it from a blood sugar perspective, I know for a fact none of the foods that man is eating is going to have any impact on blood sugar. So from that perspective, I say it's great. But like you said, is it necessary? People are only going to do what's absolutely necessary, right? Necessity governs the world. And for most people, I don't believe it's that necessary. Does it work? Yeah, I would consider it healthy. Extreme. I don't know, maybe they ate that way 1,000 years ago and it wasn't extreme at some point. I'm not going to do it, but I'll tell you this, if I had an autoimmune disorder or some kind of if it helped like skin issues, the carnivore movement, a lot of those people have come out with, same with the keto people, a lot of extremely positive testimonials, fixing all different kinds of ailments and issues. And they're able to continue doing it because it's necessary for them. They're finding a benefit. You and I, just to lose weight or get in shape, all this stuff, it's going to be too extreme. I think Liver King's great. I better not talk about that. I don't think he's necessarily hurting people with his message. I think, but I don't believe that it's necessary for you and I and everybody else in the studio to follow that. I think you take a little piece of that, meaning eat more high fat proteins. Don't be afraid to try liver and take that out of it. And then, all the rest is whatever you want.
So this is one of the interviews I've been pretty excited about for a while, and I wanted to talk about it's taken me a long time. I've been on Wall Street for 33 years, and I used to say, here's what I've done. I notice it doesn't work, but if you say why you've done it, it seems to work and be more engaging, right? People understand there's a reason for that, and that there's something behind it, right? So I want to ask you, if a person's watching this, they're overweight, they're stressed out, and they see you having the glucose monitor on, and I guess I'll word it this way. I spend a lot of time traveling.
Yeah.
And when I'm not flying private, I'm in obviously commercial airports. And so you land and you have to go from place to place. And I walk with a lot of people. And I've noticed, wow, people are really fat. It's really on my mind. They're really getting fat, right?
1 out of 3 people are pre-diabetic in this country, my friend. 1 out of 3 is astonishing.
So how can they see this show and then get help from you? Like, what would you have them do? Because quite honestly, I started noticing this about 2 years. So probably before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit. I'm like, wow, people are really getting big, right?
Yeah.
And then I started traveling again, and they're bigger. Was it because they were home? No,
it was because they were home eating processed and refined carbohydrates, comfort foods, and all the rest, and more of them. Let me just say this: my big thing is I was a hardcore wrestler growing up, and all I thought about was calories in, calories out. I was the epitome of, if you want to lose weight, all you have to do is work out more and eat less food. If you're not willing to do that, then get out of my face. I don't feel sorry for you. You're fat because you're lazy and you're a glutton. That's how I used to think, hardcore. Then I started bumping shoulders with a lot of people in the industry, and I realized I was essentially seeing an overweight person and saying, it's your fault, you need to eat less food and work out more. But then I realized I was lied to. I started bumping shoulders with Dr. Fung, with Gary Taubes, with all these people outside of the fitness industry, my little bubble of fitness industry bros. And I started being like, wow, there's more to it. And I immediately went to these overweight people and said, listen, you have hope, because who the hell is going to try and lose weight? You got 100 pounds to lose, 50 pounds to lose, 30 pounds to lose. Who in their right mind is going to be motivated about that if somebody like me says, oh, just go out and over exercise and under eat? That's what you got to do. Nobody. And that's why people don't attempt it. They don't try it because they don't want to be punished like that. And I went out and I said, listen, you don't have to starve yourself, right? It's not your fault. You did not get fat, especially to kids. I say this to kids too. You did not get fat because you ate too much food and you didn't work out enough. You're not eating the right types of food, which is a lot easier to fix than starving yourself and ruthlessly running yourself into the ground on a treadmill. And so really my goal from the outset, as soon as I realized this is the secret, the whole calories in, calories out thing is a lie, 100%. And I could go into multiple reasons why I think it is. But as soon as I discovered that, I tried to give hope to as many people as possible that yes, you can do this and you don't have to starve yourself. It's a little more complicated. Like I'm gonna have to like get sciencey with you and you might not really understand it, but take the leap.
I went to Japan in 2017, and you know, I'm on vacation. Ate a lot of food. Came back 14 pounds lighter. And I thought, well, I didn't do a lot. I did walk in Japan. But I noticed the portions were smaller. And the food, there wasn't like, there is fast food there. It's a weird thing. But not really much. I mean, in fact, the fast food places are American places, right?
Yeah, right.
But, and in fact, there's a Denny's there in Tokyo, which is considered like a really fancy restaurant there. They have great Japanese food at this Denny's. It's crazy. Then I went to Europe, did the same thing, lost weight. Is it mainly American food?
Yeah, I mean, you would think so. Well, I mean, the diabetes rate in Japan is horrific right now, and in India, all across the world, really, and obesity. So, I mean, it's.
You don't think that American food is more processed than Japanese and European food?
Oh, 100%. I think we use more processed. Okay, so I think it's a deadly combination of vegetable oils and processed and refined carbohydrates. So like these canola oils, all these vegetable soybean oils. I don't think there's as much of those used in Europe and in Asia. So that might be a factor with it. But just the sheer amount of, I mean, they eat rice in Japan, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's basically their main starch. Then over the past like 50, 60 years, we gave them sugar and their sugar consumption has skyrocketed. But gave them sugar, meaning introduced a lot of our foods that have sugar in there.
Yeah.
In them. Yeah, I don't know. If you look at the statistics though, Japan is no better off than we are right now. India is no better off than we are right now. It's a global, literally a global issue. Diabetes and obesity. There's the Nordic countries and the Mediterranean countries seem to fare the most in terms of not having skyrocketing, obesity and diabetes issues. I don't know what that reason is. The Mediterranean diet actually I do believe why the Mediterranean, based like that whole area, the Mediterranean diet's always consistently ranked number 1 in the world every single year. And it's because they incorporate a lot of healthy fats, olive oil, that kind of stuff. And that helps blunt and keep blood sugar down and under control.
So when you think about like changing your eating habits and someone wants to change their eating habits, do they just go, what website did they go through for you? And then how can they, like, walk us through, because I know you're doing this, right? So what?
Yeah, okay, so here you go. You can go to bloodsugarking.com, okay? And for $20, I'm trying to change as many lives as I possibly can. I went out and I tested hundreds of foods, a lot that you haven't even seen on the social media stuff. And I put together a program and I tell you, you can eat this food at this time, basically strategically using the foods that I've tested. And I created a whole meal plan.
For $20.
I have a Facebook group that you can join, and I do lives inside there, private stuff for the people who actually want like more information, grocery list of all the foods that I've tested. That's where you need to go. But I also encourage you to do your own research too, outside of this too. I mean, I'm telling you right now, it's the truth is out, and there's going to be more and more, people like myself who are sharing the truth about this stuff. And it's not easy. If you knew how much I got attacked by my fellow trainers, they tried to blackball me in the fitness industry, to be honest with you. Even dietitians coming after me that just want to tell people to focus on calories and that's all that matters and all this stuff. But you're going to get a lot more people who are, sharing this kind of stuff. But yeah, bloodsugarking.com if you want to, change your life and do something about it.
And bloodsugarking.com, it's $20 a month for the plan.
Not a month. It's just $20, one-time fee. get in. Here's the meal plan. Here's the food list. Here's the group. Here's everything you need. If you want access to me personally, then we can do one-on-one coaching after that. But I get you in. I just want to get you in. Like, I put out free stuff in my career, and like, it never works because people just, for free, people are like, yo, check it out. So I had to charge something, $20, get in. And then I give you everything you need to change your life, 100%.
Wow.
It's actually the best. I'll say this thing saved my career, to be honest, because I believe that the diet protocol that I follow right now, that I have my clients following, is by far the best of any diet I've ever come out with. I was big into keto. I dabbled in carnivore. It's been a wild ride in the fitness industry of testing these diets.
Do you think that everyone should have a glucose monitor?
No, I don't think it's necessary. I think as long as you have the education and general understanding that these are the foods that have the biggest impact on blood sugar, it's expensive, man. It's a new technology. It's like $400 a month. I wouldn't be able,
Wait, the monitor you have on right now is $400 a month?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. That's why I'm like, I'm just going to go test all these damn foods out for everybody because,
The continuous glucose monitor is $400 a month?
Yeah, and it's $350 to be exact. But if you wear it for longer, that's this particular one. There's two major devices. The first one is Abbott, the Abbott Freestyle Libre, and the second one is Dexcom.
Yep.
DEXCOM. Those are the only two that exist. Basically, they've cornered the market.
No, I know the chief marketing officer for Dexcom. He happens to be the son of a friend of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's they do life-changing stuff, obviously. So what these companies do is, this is actually an Abbott. If I rip this thing off, it's actually an Abbott Freestyle Libre 2. And NutriSense and a bunch of other companies have built app platforms, software that help interpret data and make it more intuitive, because the Abbott, app is terrible. So you can find it. Somebody just went and started the. I just hear that notification.
Yeah. Somebody
went to bloodsugarking.com. They want to change their life, so I'm gonna help them out. Anyways, so it's expensive, okay. Especially in this crazy economy we're in right now. You gotta, nobody's really trying to sign up for a $350 a month. And the sad thing is, let me say this was crazy. I was not ready for this. So I threw these videos out, and all of a sudden I started getting bombarded by the type 1 diabetic community. And they came at me so hard, basically saying that I was using this as a non-diabetic and that there's a shortage of them in the market. They're being told that, okay? And how dare I do that? And shame on me. This could save somebody else's life, but I took it from them. Basically, I should take this off because my neighbor can't afford it. And I started looking into this. I'm like, why are these people? I'm talking like they spam my account. They almost got me knocked off of TikTok. They reported my account so much that TikTok at one point put a disclaimer on my videos saying this is sensitive content. And here's the reason why. Insurance companies for type 1 diabetics, they don't want to pay for this. So they deny these people.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
It is a life or death situation. And they're blaming me. My response was always, do not blame me. I'm just trying to help people out. Blame your insurance company.
Right.
That refuses to pay for this stuff. And what they've done is they've also at the same time convinced these people that there's a shortage of them. And that's why it's so hard to get them to pay for it and all this stuff. And I wasn't ready for that one. That was brutal.
And they're just going after your TikTok. They're complaining.
You shouldn't be rich because I'm not.
You shouldn't be ripped or rich?
Well, both. Rich. Like, it's kind of like, if you look at it from like it was very much like in the economic sense. I was kind of like, so I shouldn't have this because you can't afford it. Shame on me. I'm persecuting people. it was very much parallel with a lot of the stuff we're seeing in other realms of our life.
Yeah, it's so funny. I experienced something similar in that as I was just in Africa on a safari with my wife and one of my colleagues and his wife, and our stock price is down, and getting attacked for pretty hardcore, and one of them is that you're living this lifestyle while our stock is down. And I thought to myself, well, I've been at this for 33 years, and by the way, how do you know it's my money? I mean, I'm married to someone who came from the wine country. How do you know it's not my wife's money? Why does my situation have anything to do with yours? What is the parallel there? Oh, by the way, I founded a company that sold for 120 million years before I ever did this deal. And so, I'm sympathetic, but I find this a transfer of hate and blame as a source. But I've also learned you're kind of doing something right if people are paying attention to what you're doing. This is a parallel universe you live in, right?
It drove my views up a lot.
I bet it did. I bet it did.
Because all these type 1 diabetics and the influencer, they roll together, which I admire. That's cool. I respect. But there's, they were making videos on me, calling me all this different stuff. But every time they do it, it would send more people to me. And I was all fine with it. It's 2 words. It's 2 words after all that mess. Victim mentality.
Yeah. I want people to see your stuff though. And
I appreciate that, man.
Hold on 1 second, Skylar. What?
Nothing. I just have a question.
Well, go ahead. Ask the question.
Fire away.
So for somebody that travels as part of their whole lifestyle and ends up eating at restaurants a lot, what would you recommend as like when you order? Because even if you order a steak, they put like butter and they put all this stuff on it, but like we don't.
What? What's wrong with that?
So if we're eating out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a lot of the times you don't know exactly, what's in the food, and you can't really control exactly what you're eating.
Yeah, you shouldn't be. Okay, so remember this always. Don't blame the butter for what the bread did.
Okay. But say you just,
The butter is not what you need to be looking out for.
That's a fat, right? Using what I've seen him talk about is what is the quality of the fat is what he's more concerned about, right?
Yeah, and fat, I actually drank olive oil and it lowered my blood sugar. Healthy fats are good. They blunt blood sugar response. So you want, in that situation, whenever I travel, first of all, it's never going to be perfect. So I don't I'm not micro, managing all my meals. I do the best I can wherever I'm at in the situation. And I'm armed with the knowledge of I got to avoid these foods. Usually it's bread, cereal, bagels, pasta, sugar. The main enemy is when you're traveling, it's going to be hiding behind every little, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to fall victim to it. So I always just stick with protein and vegetables if you want to be super safe. On my program, allow you to spike blood sugar strategically one day with what I call a healthy high impact carb. So, oatmeal would be okay in that situation, but only on days you work out.
My youngest daughter, by the way, she went on a no sugar, no trans fat, insane. She's a very smart young girl, 17, and she's really a high IQ girl, almost to some. Taught herself Japanese at 8. She's crazy in terms of intelligence. And she has lost 30 pounds not taking virtually any sugar in her body. It's crazy.
And not working out either.
My daughter cut out sugar in a biblical way and trans fats, and she's not working out, and she has lost massive weight.
Of course.
Massive weight.
Working out is a bonus on top of all of that. You can definitely get results. Some of the people who have made the most amazing transformations in my career with me, they weren't working out. They're working out 3 days a week, taking walks around the neighborhood. Diet is everything. Everybody in the industry is always asking me, what percent is it diet or working out? It's 100% diet. If you want to look like me in my prime, I'm 41 now. So it was all diet. I could never have been on the cover of Iron Man magazine if my diet was nuts. I could have worked out all I wanted to, but if my diet was not solid, I would not have looked like that. I would not have. So diet is everything. And sugar is the biggest culprit. So your daughter just cutting out that one thing made a huge difference. She didn't have to say, she's smart enough, thankfully, to say, I want to lose. How much did she lose?
She is, my wife and I'm 6'4", my wife is 6 foot. She is a little shorter. I think she's in the 5'6" range, and she has lost 30 pounds. She looks great. I mean, really happy for her. But
And I
she's super
pray to God-
intelligent. She read the literature and she got really deep and read down the
it's all
rabbit
right
hole.
There.
Yeah.
It's all right there.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it or not? Are you willing, if you have to travel and you have to find yourself at these restaurants, can you eat a bunless burger, or are you going to be weak and have the, it depends on how bad you want it.
Right.
And this, so just being willing to do that. I mean, you could, though, like I said, with the whole keto movement, here's what I've noticed. So I got big in keto, big. I got lucky and found keto early in my career. I started working with kids with mental illness. Crazy story. Early in my career, this is how I kind of found the truth about insulin and all this stuff. So I started working in a mental health facility in Atlanta, Georgia. I was a trainer. This was back before my career blew up. I was a trainer in the gym, and I was training this famous CEO of this mental health facility. It's for really wealthy kids, and they come from all around the country, and they're 18 to like 35, right? I'm telling you, the saddest of the sad, schizophrenic, bipolar, suicide attempts kids. Anyways, they all went to this place, this big campus, and they lived there and everything. But they took a medication that made their weight just blow up. I'm talking like 30 pounds in 1 month. And it got so bad that they would end up dying by the time they were like 45, just from the blood it would just tear everything up, right? So in one hand, they're curing themselves in the mental, illness, but on the second hand, they're getting fat and dying. So they did this study, and they were like, we're going to do a study. They took a handful of the kids, and they were trying to reverse the effects of the medicine. And I came in as the trainer. I worked out with these kids. And I'm telling you what, Todd, it was a life-changing experience. I'm used to training people who want to be bodybuilders and like want to lose 30 pounds and all this stuff. And I get there, and I'll never forget. I'm like looking around at these kids. They're just all cut up, man. They're schizophrenic. They're like talking to themselves, looking at numbers in the sky, the craziest stuff, saddest stuff you've ever seen in your life. But it changed my life because working out, they were like so happy. They were amazing. It improved every aspect. My point is this: they were putting the kids on a ketogenic diet. And at the time, I had no idea what keto was. And I'm like, you people are crazy. What in the hell? Why are you going to give all these people a bunch of fat? This is before keto became big.
Right.
And I'm like, you people, because remember, I came from calories in, calories out, eat less fat. I went through the low fat movement, just like you, Yep. I'm like, you guys, this doesn't make any sense at all. I actually spoke up, and I was like, fitness bro got put in my place fast. And they started showing me all these studies, and they're like, yeah, we know you don't really understand it, but keto is kind of the medical. It was created in a medical situation. 1920s Mayo Clinic is when keto came about for kids who suffer from epilepsy, having seizures. It's the only diet to come out of the medical, it's the only, anyways. So that's what opened up my eyes completely. My point is this. So then we rode with that, and it got huge. Everybody started making great results, but people would go 3 weeks, like your daughter, she would cut out sugar. Pretty much, I bet she was almost semi-keto if you had to ask her, because when you cut out sugar, you try and really take care of the rest too at the same time. But most people don't have the willpower or the intelligence as your daughter. And so what they do is they go 2 weeks, they cut out all the stuff, and then they mess up. And then they go for like the really bad pizza, pasta, So I learned from that. And I now say I'm not gonna cut out sweet potatoes just because they spike blood sugar, or brown rice, or apples, or any of that stuff. I'm gonna let you have one serving of those a day.
My daughter is definitely, my daughter Asia is very disciplined.
Does she exercise?
She does a little bit, not much, but I think she's into walking. She walks a lot.
That's exercise.
So you're from Atlanta, huh?
No, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I went to Ohio University. I lived in Atlanta for 5 years. I've been all over, man.
Well, when was the last time you were in Atlanta?
I need to get back there. I'm gonna try and go back soon.
I'm a little bummed because I was gonna say to you,
Todd's there?
if you're from Atlanta, no, but we have a company there. But I was gonna say, if you're from Atlanta, you ever eat at Bones? But Bones is a pretty famous steakhouse there.
Yeah, of course, I've heard of it.
Yeah. I'm actually from Ohio too.
Oh, what part?
I was born in Cuyahoga Falls, which is up by Cleveland.
Yeah, I know, man.
I
went
lived.
to OU.
I lived until I lived there till I was like 4 or 5. And my family's from Kent, Ohio, like Kent State,
Yeah, of course.
right next to the university. But moved to California when I was a kid, and lived there for 46 years till I moved to Nevada about 1.5 years ago. So I live in Las Vegas now.
Hey, before I let you go, is Bitcoin going to the moon or what, bro?
So I
don't own any.
I'm a huge believer in Bitcoin, and we're creating BitNile.com is creating a Bitcoin super app. BitNile, it's called BitNile. It's effectively the Nile River was the first real merchant trade place, and then Bit is obviously for technology. I'm a huge believer in it. In
cryptocurrency, or mostly just Bitcoin?
Well, I think there's 2 stages of this. There's the blockchain technology, which I think is incredible, and then there's the immaculate conception that is Bitcoin. And you only can really have Bitcoin because of the way it started, and the way that you hear these stories about the pizza. I'm going to quote Alice Svetsky, a friend of mine. He actually coined all this about. Pardon the pun. He talks about the immaculate conception that is Bitcoin and the stories of Bitcoin and how it's been accepted by the masses. So I don't think you can recreate that. There's kind of only one. Go ahead.
Sorry. Let me ask you one more question about this. I'm a rookie, but I have a day trader best friend, and we're always just kind of following this stuff. What do you think will happen when the government inevitably comes out with a centralized bank digital currency?
I think it is. I think that we already kind of have that. It's called Zelle, and I think it's a disaster with the idea that. So when you say the government, that's the problem I have.
Yeah,
right?
Basically the government's saying, okay, everybody, we're going to take the show over. I hope you had fun on your little Bitcoin ride. We're not going to let that happen. They're not. But basically, in theory, they're just not going to let that happen. It's got to be the biggest threat to the government ever, right?
Well, okay, so no, we don't agree. Let's compartmentalize a little bit. The idea that the government will issue a digital currency and they will track everything you spend money on is a disaster. Right now, the government has to have probable cause to look at your bank account. They can't just look at it. They have to get. Now they can get there, but there's a process through the court system. The idea that you will have a digital currency that you can spend somewhere and they can track everything you spent it on and how you spent it. This is a political issue that I think is very dangerous. And
do you think it'll happen, or more than likely to happen, or less?
I think it'll happen. I think it's a disaster.
So digital dollar, basically.
A digital dollar is a disaster unless
Is that the same as the centralized bank digital currency then? Is that kind of one of
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
I'll call it digital dollar because that's cooler.
I think it's a disaster. I think the government controlling and knowing what, so just whether you're a Trump fan or not, just imagine Trump's in office.
Are you?
I'm gonna get into that in a second. If you are a Trump fan, and forget Trump, just any president decides that tries to go haywire, doesn't like how you spent your money, and they can see all the people that spend on the. I mean, it's a rabbit hole that, if you really think about, is incredibly dangerous, right? And
you're a trucker. If you're a trucker in Canada and you don't like Trudeau, he can just turn your damn account off like he did.
The talking point here is when the politicians say, "Look what Bitcoin can be used for." By the way, it's very traceable. Then they should ask themselves, what is the dollar used for? What has cash been used for? What kind of crimes does cash commit? And then when they talk about Bitcoin being a big footprint for energy, what does it take to print all those dollars? What does it take to have banks and ATM machines running? There's always the real. There's the political side of it, and then there's the real story. And here's my point. I think that Bitcoin is a digital asset that's here to stay, and I think the American dollar is here to stay. Because imagine that Russia and China get together and have a gold-backed dollar. They don't trust those governments, and that's what they're trying to do. So until someone is more trusted than the U.S., people can bitch and moan about the U.S. You can say anything you want about what's going on here, and you don't like Trump, you don't like Biden, you don't like this, but at the end of the day, it's one of the safest places in the world financially to do business. They're a country of laws, and it's the best system we have going. And by the way, it's one of the rare systems. You can say you were attacked, but you basically got to take a device that was developed, right? You got to take a device that is more powerful than anything we've ever had in the world. It can do incredible things for an economic value of $1,400-1,500. You got to take your message and make it available to the world in something incredibly powerful, and that generally has happened because of U.S. policy. And my point here is that as soon as the government tries to control how you spend your money and monitors it in a way that's draconian, the 1984 style, then I think it's the beginning of the end. That's my fear about it. And but I want to help you get the message out. I'm gonna one of the things I wanted to say to you today before we go is I had made a commitment to my wife to get even more healthier. I'm trying to do that now. I've been cutting out a lot of stuff, and I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you privately about something you can do. But I also want to talk to you about how we can promote blood sugar health, and it's really something that's come up to me because I've educated myself on what happens with diabetes, etc. I think that your style and delivery is powerful, and I want to help more people learn what you learned. I want to learn more about, is the videos only on TikTok? Do you have those videos on your own page? Is your library available? Can people sign up for a course? Just things that I think that you could help people do. You remind me a lot of a few people I know in social media that seem to be really focused on what's actually happening. I mean, when you do those tests, you're like, this is the facts. You can be mad or good about it, but this is the facts. And then the fact that you're giving them some solution on how to deal with it. I'd love to possibly have you out at RiskOn, the conference in Vegas, for you to talk to the people, make your program available to people. Because I think your message is incredible. In a way, I didn't realize that you were selling anything, which is probably even better. But I thought it's so educational. Everyone, you got to go out and check out his TikTok. You can see that posted here. You got to go out and for $20, I mean, check out his diet. I mean, that's incredible. Jason, I appreciate you being with us. And I want to see if there's a way that we can get you. I mean, not that you need to be bigger, but more people knowing your message. I thought it was incredible. I actually watched every video you had and thought to myself, it's pretty damn engaging. And with that in mind, 2 hours later.
Yeah, 2 hours later.
I'll see you later, man. Be well.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
No, I'm going to explain to you real quick. We're rolling out. There's a reason for it.
So, yeah, you got it right.